Welcome to the Real Me podcast. Now, I come on this podcast and I just talk about anything that comes up, anything at all that I feel that I want to talk about. Now, if there's just so many things and it's just overwhelming me where I feel exhausted, like there's too much to talk about and I can't like get it out in a proper way, we'll have to do the whole thing in one. And it may be a day where there may be a lot going on, but I'll find ways around that. But I don't want to get complicated with this. Besides that, this is very, very this is a podcast where if I have an opinion about something or a contemplation that I want to, like these episodes are all contemplations. And this is a contemplation I have with my own personal feelings and insights and thoughts and beliefs, all wrapped up into these episodes of the Real Me podcast. Now, as you can see from this image, I'm talking today about escapism, but not the way that you would think about escapism. And this all comes off of a video that I was watching by two best friends. Um, and I'm going to, can I name them? Like, is it wrong to just name the people that I'm talking about in this video? The fact that I asked that question is merely the basis on which I can do it. So basically, Colette Baron-Reid's, if you ever follow Colette Baron-Reid, you'll find her in my spirituality channel as Oracle card teacher expert at Oracle cards. Um, uh, wrote many books, very, very, created Oracle school, all this stuff, spiritual teacher that talks about higher power and spirit and most everything, that she does and everything that she really does and says, I agree with. And then there is Deborah Silverman, who is an astrologer, psychologist, who was in this video. So this video was a a reading for the 12 signs for each sun and rising sign for the month of May. Sorry about that. Someone was just handing me a pill that I had to take, a chewable. So, anyway, this video was about the 12 signs, what they need to consider for the month of May, not what they need to do. First of all, I want to differentiate that. Doing is, oh my gosh, do I disagree with that? Because for the longest time, I've had the limiting belief. Oh, when I listen to people that give me suggestions, or when I, um, y- you know, um, look at oracle cards, um, uh, receive oracle cards. Like I have to follow those things. Like I have to do those things. And when people tell me, suggestions like I have to apply them, otherwise I'm not good enough, or I am wrong, or I did something wrong. No, it's not what you need to do. It is what you need to consider that you may do, that you may or may not do. It's just for your contemplation, just for your consideration. And that's what all videos are. All videos. Now, maybe the yoga videos and the meditation videos are different because, there's the physical actions that you're doing those things in those videos. But if it's like advice or suggestions, it is all just, you have the power and the autonomy and the freedom to co-create your own reality. And you have the freedom of whether you're going to act on these things or not. So that's what it comes down to. So, that I disagree with that. That's the first thing that I disagreed with in this video. Most of the video, including part of the reading for Aries, um, was what I I agreed with that. So what Colette did was she showed the cards. So she pulled four cards for each sign, giving insight and guidance into how to navigate the month. And Deborah Silverman added her astrology, the not so, you know, in my opinion, meaningful astrology because, like, this is squaring your sun or your rising sign. And if you're born between these very, very small, select number of dates, then you're going to be impacted. Like, no. I have the freedom of speech to put this video out, and I did name them, and no guilt about that. So, what I'm saying is that potentially, is very, very limiting. Just say four Aries rising. Four Aries are for whatever sign, not born between a certain number of dates. Because I'm pretty sure chances are 15% of the population watching that video were actually born during those dates. So just facts about that. So anyway, um, so I'm not going to get into specific minor trivial things in this, but I want to give you sort of what I don't agree with in this video. What I did agree with was my Sagittarius sign. They were talking about seeking higher truth, being very, very discerning about the information that you're looking and not being swept away by the online information, not being swept away by everybody's opinions online telling you, this is what you should think over here, and then somebody else's opinions telling you what you should think over there. So I completely agree with that. We need to be very, very, discriminating about the kind of information that we are digesting and allowing ourselves to take in and setting healthy boundaries to that, and not allowing ourselves to get too swayed by that or too pulled into the siren song of all this information. Because Sagittarius can, take something and then just run for the hills with it, and it may not be true. It can take an idea and be very, very passionate and politically, strong about that. And that was, these were all very, very unique insights about Sagittarius in the sign of Sagittarius that was gained through these cards, and I really, really like the oracle part of these readings because I find all of them very, very insightful. But so yeah, so within all of that was that idea, and probably AI is going to say very eloquently below that video. So I'm not saying that I'm better than the people who made this video, than the two individuals who made this video. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't want to make myself superior to anybody else, because I don't think that that is right to, be superior. But anyway, this image right here, before I get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, I want to discuss with you this image that I have pulled up. 5 important tips to prevent escapism. And I want to talk about the definition of escapism because this is a very, very important point to make. Um, I want to, maybe you're seeing my screen, maybe you're not, escapism. And probably you're going to see only half the screen because I'll be on a separate document doing this particular podcast. So it says escapism is the habitual diversion of the mind to imaginative activity, entertainment, or recreation to escape reality, um, stress, or routine. This is what AI is saying. It can serve as a healthy temporary coping mechanism to decompress and recharge. It becomes unhealthy when it leads to addiction, isolation, or avoidance of necessary responsibilities. Um, um, and then it gives examples. And I think that these examples really, really hold a lot of weight. The examples say media consumption, so, social media, like the addiction to escaping through social media and not paying attention to what is going on right in front of you. I'm kind of making fun of somebody who didn't, I probably shouldn't have done that because that was being me not being myself. So I do apologize for that. But not looking at what's right in front of you, basically. Like choosing not to face reality and that's what escapism is not is going to something else through another means of that and not like escaping reality. Okay, so that's what it is. Gaming, media consumption, like over consuming news, daydreaming. What the thing is with escapism, everything in moderation. Like everything in moderation. Escapism is only bad when it's extreme, when you're not cutting it back, when you're not saying, okay, I'm going to spend some of my time doing this as a means of escaping, what I am doing, going to paint or going to watch a movie or whatever the escapism is. And then I set this timetable, go back to my daily responsibilities. So, it is everything in moderation. So I think that escapism, I just hate to criticize people, and I hate to do this in videos, but this is the Real Me podcast, and it is what it will be. Um, I think that the definition of escapism was confused in this video as something not what it actually is. Um, and I think in this video, I mean, I have to be specific because it's a video and I have something to say about it. Um, guilt-free cards, guilt-free cards to do this. So, I think that, as wise and good and as much as I, admire Colette Baron-Reid, following her for many, many years, I think that the definition of escapism was confused into something that it is not. So that's all that I want to say here. Um, so daydreaming or in harmful cases, substance abuse or compulsive spending. It tells you right there. Um, clear as crystal, right there. That's what escapism is. Okay, that's what escapism is. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is what it is. The image here on the screen breaks down some things. And I'm going to get into things. And there's not all negative things I have to say about this, but I'm going to give you my opinions and insights about this kind of thing. So, the first thing to prevent it is be self-aware. Be self-aware of when you are indulging in escaping things. Like be aware, oh, I'm overdoing this. I'm overdoing engaging in this movie or in this means of whatever it is. Um, so, identifying this pattern or this behavior, identifying it. Um, e- I think this says replace the situation by something else, by focusing on something else to get you out of this. Get you out of this. And I'm not going to completely be one-sided about this. I mean, there is some truth to this, and I do find this very, very interesting, and there is some truth, but the way that it was explained was a little, and this is the truth that I want to say, that I need you to hear me loud and clear with this. Okay, I hate to say this about, anyone that I follow or admire or look up to, but I am telling you, quite honestly, if you should hear something and you're like, there's a part of me that's like resistant to it. Well, it could be that, it's part of you that is unprocessed and unhealed and unwounded and something that you need to work within yourself. It could be that. But I think that when it comes from the external thing, it wasn't explained in a deep enough or gentle enough way for you to really, like For example, I read astrology articles by Alice Barkley Cat recently. They were very, very well written astrology articles. And she, um, I read that and I was like, how come I'm not feeling any resistance to what you're saying? You're going deep with it. You're going deep. You're getting into why things are the way they are. Why? I want to know the why. That song by Barbra Streisand. Why? Where is it written? Why? So, that's what I want to know. So I will in my life question those who give me surface level information that I do not agree with in my life. That I find to be something that I resist, something that I don't like, etc. So, oh, excuse me, I had dinner just recently, and I had mixed for dinner. It's like, oh, so and then recognize and embrace your feelings. Recognizing, this is what it is that I am feeling. This is what's, really, really going on, with me in regards to, how I'm feeling and, what I'm doing with all this. So recognizing, and embracing, your feelings. And this is a huge part of this. Acknowledging, hey, I am escaping. Oh, recognize, oh, there I go again, escaping. There I go again, moving into, that escape realm. And there I go engaging in those behaviors again, excluding the behaviors I'm going to talk about in this video. But, like, like recognizing, when you're going to go into escapism, when you're going to go into that, place of, escaping your reality and escaping your, yourself. And I'm going to get into why I disagree with what was said in this particular video in just a second. But recognizing and embracing your feelings. The next thing is paying attention to the consequences of your escapism. How does escapism move you away from your reality? And how does it move you away from just dealing with the practical things in daily life? And how can it harm your body and your peace of mind and your health and all that? So that becomes very, very important. And then talking to somebody, um, can get you out of escaping talking to somebody about your escapism to talk about why I have these problems, I have these tendencies, and I'm going to talk about it and address it and be transparent about it and be vulnerable about it. But, it can also be, where you are getting outside of, um, yourself and your, kind of, you know, um, like there is something to be said here about getting outside of yourself. And this is why I don't completely disagree with this, but I do disagree with that. I do agree with, getting out of, being able to connect with the real world as opposed to getting outside of yourself to talk to somebody. Like when you talk to somebody and have a conversation, you get outside of yourself. You get outside of yourself, outside of, um, you know, just the patterns that you are escaping from. And as I'm going to get into, me, I, when you notice, okay, I'm using an unhealthy mode of my energy when it comes to is engaging in the escapist categories. And I am choosing to face reality, well, not that, but choosing to get my mind connected to the here and now, getting my mind connected to others, to conversations, to ideas in the now, to what is going on right in front of me, to what my senses can absorb, to what my mind can perceive and understand. So uh So talking to somebody can be very, very helpful and beneficial for that. So now I'm going to get into what was said now on this, and I'm going to get into my thoughts about that. I'm going to kind of break this down of what was said. So basically, there were two cards from a deck that were in protection or upside down, in this deck. And this is what was said by Colette in this video. Um, this is addiction, by the way. I did happen to glance at what addiction could be as, means of self-escapism. And um I will argue that addictions are only addictions if you really identify that they are addictions, if you really like see, okay, this is a problem in my life and this is something that I individually need to face, me personally needing to face. So and I'm going to get into this. This is addiction. This is escapism, which is kind of interesting because it's not for everybody. Now, escapism. I've already defined escapism. I've already defined what escapism is, what it means, what it is all about, necessarily speaking. Um, y- you know, what is kind of, and this video is not going off on anyone. This is just my own personal insights and beliefs and thoughts. So I don't make these videos with the intention of going off on people. I don't want to go off on people. But I will allow for circumstances where naming names is kind of, the bricks and mortar of what make it the way it is. So I'm not going to edit this video out and clean it up just because I named a name. So anyway, all right, so that's enough disclaimer on that. So, this is escapism, which is kind of interesting because it's not for everybody, referring to Pisces individuals. This is what she was, being indirect with my language. She was referring to Pisces individuals as being, those kind of, individuals. Um, I kind of paraphrased this, but I'm just taking what was said and giving my thoughts about it. This is all that this is. So, this is an interesting thought. Um, so, typically when you think of escapism, you think of for Pisces qualities. And, I'm going to, contradict this because escapism is related to Pisces, and I don't think that certain things should be confused for other things. I think that, certain things are what they are, and we shouldn't try to muddle it around in the weeds. So, but I will allow myself to come up with whatever insight that comes up, with what I believe and what I want to say. Now, I will say that this is not coming from this person alone. This is what the cards said, that this person pulled, in this video. Um, but still, this is what was said. So this is a reading for me as an Aries sun. That's not for Aries either, but it's to be aware of putting blinders on and going, this isn't about me. Okay. This is kind of the first, pin the first needle, so to speak. Um, I'm going to say it. We have a lot of Aries energy right now, and the sky is screaming the themes of being true to yourself and being authentic and being, real to yourself and, honest with yourself and focused on yourself and your own goals and your own, self-love and, all of this. So, um, You know, um, honestly, honestly, um, why does this have to be a bad thing? There's something good to be said about saying this isn't about me. Again, um, I don't particularly feel like it was explained in a way that really got into the why and the how for this. So, this isn't about me. This was a very, very quick reading. And I'm going to argue that saying that is very, very empowering because you are discerning what is for you and what isn't. From that same deck that she was using, there's a card called Not For You. And the card says, that uh some things are just not for you. And it is like this is about discernment. Okay, there is nothing wrong with quote unquote putting blinders on and discerning and saying this isn't about me. It is disconnecting from all the noise, disconnecting from all the distractions, disconnecting from all the stuff going on in life with saying, this isn't about me, this doesn't apply to me, so therefore I'm cutting it out. Therefore, I'm not allowing it to take away from me being who I truly am. Therefore, I am not letting this. I'm telling you, living from the inside out is so, 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 so important. Not allowing stuff from the outside interfere with who you are on the inside, letting it sort of steer you off course with saying, oh, this judgment or this phrase or this idea or whatever, um, you know, uh, what was I saying again? I totally lost my train of thought. Let me just think about it. This, idea that you just disagree with. Now, here's what I do agree with in this is openness to new ideas. Openness. It's so important not to be on a high horse and think that you know all and you are self-righteous and like low shadow expressions of ego and all that kind of stuff. Is what I think is so important to emphasize here is this is not about me being I am not living from a place of living from the outside in. I'm living from a calm, centered, grounded place inside of me, and I am being my sovereign self because the sky is really saying, be yourself, be who you are. This is the time to focus on authenticity, to focus on your goals, your long-term goals, Saturn's in Aries, to focus on what you feel passionate about. Like this is what's going on right now. This is the energy of these times. So, I do feel that this contradicts this. Um, so, um, and the fact that I just want to throw in here before I go on is that I know Colette's chart and her south node happens to lie in Aries. So that's what you're moving away from. But you're not meant to leave behind Aries qualities. You're just meant to release ego, shadow qualities of survival. And I think this person has really, really done this. I don't want to assume that this person is stuck in the South Node and hasn't done this because I truly believe this person has. But it's kind of running counter to what the sky is sort of screaming at us right now. So this isn't about me. Going, I am not about the collective. I've got blinders on. And here you go talking about distancing yourself from noise and media and all this stuff, and then this is what you're saying. Like I just do not understand it. I just do not understand the logic in this as talking about setting healthy boundaries toward like news and distractions and media and all the negative stuff going on in the world, and all the stuff that is just not right for you, not right for you. And I want to emphasize that very, very importantly, like not right for you. Knowing what is and isn't right for you. So, I am not about the collective. And I'm going to exaggerate this. Okay, I'm going to kind of make a caricature out of this. I got blinders on. Me. Okay. So this is saying, well, Aries is not about the collective. That is not Aries energy. That is not Aries energy. Aries is about the self. Okay, first and foremost, it is about the self, not the false sense of self, not the ego version of self. But I think a deeper way of saying this is stop getting into your ego self of that place where you just, want what you want. You're so determined to get, you're so impulsive or whatever, and connect to your soul self. Like it's so important to be secure within yourself and live from a soul-centered, intuitive place. This person specializes on mm, following your intuition. Um, and your intuition is your guiding compass that is within you and about you. It is telling you which direction that you want to go in that is true for you in your life. Well, like, what do I want to do that's true for me about my goals, my ideas, my visions, my whatever that is true for me and going in that direction. And anytime do that, but not with all these especially with all these planets and Aries. So this is say like another. I think what they meant by this is they kind of clarified it at the end. And I'm going to get into that is the ego mind. It is what they were referring to. This is not saying just don't focus on yourself and just focus on others. Like that is not what this is saying. I don't believe that this is what this is saying. And I'm kind of exaggerating me, making it out to be a bad thing that you're so focused on yourself. Like it is not a bad thing. Like when you are secure within yourself, you will naturally find that you are open to others, that you are open to new ideas and engaging with the world, and you will be true to yourself. Well, it's not about just cutting out your soul desires and in your your passions and whatever and living from a logical place of just focusing on others and sacrificing your own sense of truth and those feelings inside of you. No, it is acknowledging and it is embracing and accepting those feelings in a way where you're calm and grounded, in a way where you're not, so, egoic, where you are secure within yourself and you are focused on yourself in a way that is also, and I do believe that when you are focused on, yourself in a way where you feel secure about yourself and focused on yourself in a healthy way from a soul-centered place, then you will be, um, you know, th then you will not be falling into the ego qualities of self-centeredness and and self-righteousness and all these kind of things like that. But just to say, just be aware of putting the blinders on and going, I am not about the collective. I don't agree with that. So that's the escape. It goes on. That's the escape into the me, as opposed to the fact that we need the we going on here. Um, y- you know, and these are not my words, by the way. So th this is not my idea. Okay. Now, um, again, um, very, very, Libra qualities. We need the balance of we. But the signs the signs overlap each other. Like, um, Aries can focus on others when it is actually focused on itself. It can then release the ego qualities of itself and be harmonious with others without trying to be, just naturally being that because it's focused on itself. Like I know it sounds ironic to you, but that's actually the truth. And it's because you're living from the soul-centered place. Like if you're living from a soul-centered place, you are not selfish and egoic. Okay, you're not so self-absorbed into the again me, 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 me. That is not the soul. Okay, so if you're connected with your soul and your intuition, and you're following where your intuition is guiding you towards your own truth, your own sense of sovereignty and freedom and independence, and doing what is true for you, then it is not me, 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 I. So, okay. So this is very, very profound. And when I heard this, it really, really hit hard. And it kind of touched a nerve with me when I heard it. So, it kind of hit a raw nerve with me when I heard this. So, um, and then it says, be aware of the tendency to be very self-absorbed or all about me. Again, I think this is making it bad to focus on yourself. Like it is like you are meant to focus on yourself this life. Like we are not here, like we are here to connect in relationships. We are also here to individuate ourselves, to be an individual, to live out what our soul is calling us to live out, what our soul is calling us to embody and experience in this lifetime. Like we are meant to live a life that is not true for us. And self-absorbed only means I am so narcissistic. That's self-absorption. Or like if you are so focused on yourself and feeling so good in your life, feeling like you're so focused on yourself and you're feeling, so good and you're proud of yourself and you feel good about yourself and you feel confident in yourself and you believe in yourself and all this, and that is not self-absorption. That is not all about me. That is not all about me. So that is what I want to make very, very clear here. Is something that I do not think was plain the clearest way. But I think this was the point that they were trying to make, that Colette, was trying to make. I'm just kind of giving my own thoughts and clarifying it. So, and then being aware of the ego. Well, that just says it right there. Just not getting caught up in the low expression of your ego. And, I think the low expression of your ego too, like, the ego, can serve as an assistant to the soul in that it sort of shows how we get around in the world, how we, make our decisions from, who we are and our personality and all that, and what makes us unique, but not like where you can get into the negative side of the ego. Like I read an article which was saying, like we put the ego down in spirituality, like it's all negative, but really what the ego is, personality. And there are going to be shadow sides to your personality and good things about your personality and good things about who you are. So I'm saying embrace for I'm gonna pretend I'm, in this video and I'm saying to Aries, sun rising sign moon sun moon or rising in this video, like the here's the reading that I want to give. Embrace who you are. Embrace who you are. And it's about being secure in yourself about that, not being, egoic and narcissistic, not needing to put up this defense of like, I'm going to get attacked and I'm anyone that threatens my sense of self is a threat and I need to just attack them and make myself so much bigger because of a place of insecurity about the self. Okay. So when you feel secure about yourself, it is not a thing which is quote unquote all about me or self-absorbed. Okay. Well, I just want to say it's okay to be quote unquote self-absorbed. At a point in your life when because I admit I have been self-absorbed with my, this podcast and with my other podcast and from uh you know mid-February I've been, listening to myself and doing all myself, listening to myself because I really, really, love myself. And I really value myself and I feel secure within myself, about who I am. So I'm honoring that. And, at least I'm not like criticizing myself or, beating myself up like I did the past 3.5 years of my life over things. And I'm finally feeling a good sense of who I am, through this. So I have been focused on myself. And I think the only guilt that comes with that is just having a book at the library that I didn't yet read that I have to return and I have to read because it's eventually going to be overdue. If that wasn't in place, I would probably fully allowed to be myself with nothing holding me back. And I wouldn't let anyone hold me back. From being, and my very, very first episode on this podcast was self-absorption, and I shared my personal thoughts with the things that come from me as feeling like I am being self-absorbed. And, again, do what feels right. If you feel like you are so absorbed into yourself and you're like, ooh, I'm over engaging in this, I'm, escaping this too much, or, I'm overindulging in myself, and I authentically feel like I want to get out of that, then that's something else, where you inside yourself or based off of an oracle card that you pull gives you, information, just kind of tells you, okay, this is insight for you to know. And that's what oracle cards are, is they give insight for you to know. I was on her Oracle Cards Secrets live training series today. She was saying like Oracle cards will not tell you what to do. They will give you information and insight and suggestions, and you get to decide what you do. You get to act. You get to co-create. You have the power, and you can be empowered to, act on that. So, you know, if you really want to go to somebody about Oracle cards, anyone, I would recommend her because she way more knowledgeable about it than I am. And in that video that I filmed back on my channel mid-February about why her decks are unique from others' decks, which was a PowerPoint presentation that I did. And then I also have a video in this podcast, which is the my journey with Oracle cards, which that does kind of, involve, getting her decks and, others. So, nothing against anybody in this video. It's just something was said in a way which I listened to it and I was like, okay, not a whole lot of time you spent on this. Like, it comes down to like, dropping in and really, really going deep with it. Like, I admire somebody that I used to follow who used to, have videos that really, really went deep and, gave interpretations that I listened to. And quite honestly, I was not rejecting of any of those interpretations because they were so, insightful and so rich with thought and personal experience and how this person weaved thought and knowledge and personal experience into these videos in a beautiful tapestry was very, very admirable. And I really, really hope that this person comes back to continue to do videos because I really, really liked what she had to give. So, so being self-absorbed and focusing on yourself, like I'm saying, actually the opposite. Like it is okay to focus on yourself because that's what Aries is here to do. It is here to be a self-oriented sign. It is here to focus on itself and it's here to follow its soul. if you're here to follow what it wants to do, what it feels driven, and what it has the desires to do. That's the energy, of Aries. Like, don't tell an Aries to just, oh, don't worry about it, just deny, just don't focus on yourself, focus on others, and do it. Well, there's going to be some resistance because they're going to, resist you, and they're going to be like, no, I want to do what's right for me. I want to do, my sovereign self. I want to do what is right for me. I want to do what's true for me. I want to do what I want to do and I'm passionate about. And, we do have to, respect kind of what the individual signs, need to do it. And, when I do my 12 sign videos, um, I'm not saying that this was like preachy or anything, but I just don't, preach in those kind of ways, those truths. Like I'm not, thank goodness I don't have, energy in my chart that just makes me, so direct that it's just whoa, 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 whoa. I think for my chart, um, I think my Mercury and Moon placements are kind of saving graces and other energies in my chart because I explain things in a very, very gentle way, in a very, very loving, compassionate, deep way, talking about like respecting, and I respect the signs when I do this. I respect the signs and how they can evolve to their highest level. Like I don't tell Aries just, oh, don't worry about yourself, focus on others. That's selfish to focus on yourself, focus on others. Like I don't say stuff like that because I don't believe it. I do not believe it. Instead, I will say, notice when you are being impulsive or rash or angry. Notice how it's hurting others and open your heart to others. Like that's something that I would say. That's something along the lines of what I would say because you see the difference, right? And you see how this, just saying um be aware of the tendency to be self-absorbed and all about me, that is, that could be deeper. The deeper interpretation of this is don't be so egoic and so, so, narcissistic that you are only focused on yourself. And so self-righteous that you're only focused on yourself. And dogma could also come into play here. Um, like, and if something comes up and it's like, tell, Aries to focus on others, I will say, well, like, we are social creatures. We need each other. Like, I will say, I will just state, like, be open to connect with others. You just be open. Just, I don't say it in an abrupt way. I say it in a kind, very, very, caring way. Um, to the signs of, what they're doing, and I want to do that. I mean, now I won't be perfect at this. There may be times when I may be more like tell you how it is, and I'll tell you straight sometimes. Then a lot of times I will, it all depends on the information and what I have the capacity, how I have the capacity, and what is in my capacity and ability to deliver that information. So, how I can deliver that information with how capable and how knowledgeable am I, yeah, that I am, as close to my beliefs as I can get. So, and then the other person said, you can get carried away, Aries, with your sense of self. And I disagree with this. Um, that is for an Aries to determine on their own. On their own, if they are seeing like, whoa, this is an addiction. I am getting so self-focused, and they themselves feel internally, intuitively, that it is wrong, that they are too focused on themselves, then that is where, the rubber has to hit the road and where they feel like, okay, it's ready to change. So they will change. Okay, like Aries is here to really truly follow its soul and truly follow its intuition in this life. So we have to acknowledge that. Um, and so, Aries is here to, like, um, you know, uh, y- like Aries, is not here to, let, others, tell what to do and, let others boss it around and, do whatever. Aries is here to be open to others, but open-hearted, not in a logical mind place, an egoic place. Because most of it, you can't be open really too much in your ego. You can't do that. You have to drop into the heart, to be open to others' idea. Like it's yes, it's open mind, but sometimes you're really, really prideful of your ideas, and in that case, drop into your heart. Like be humble, and be uh kind and open and willing to listen. I do not disagree with not being willing to listen to new ideas and being willing to listen to new perspectives and engage with the world and be open to others and to form healthy relationships. That's all very, very important. But just to say you're carried away with your sense of self is not accurate because they're here to be themselves, as I keep saying in this video. I don't think that they get carried away with that. What they get carried away with is a false sense of self. Okay? And I want to look up a false sense of self here and define this for you. That's what they can get carried away with. So a false sense of self. Like, see the difference? Like, just saying sense of self is like saying it's like saying you get carried away with just being who you are and being authentic to who you are. Like, no. Okay, false sense of self. Let me look that up. Let me look up the definition of false sense of self. It is adaptive and defensive. It is defensive, where you are defending yourself and being so argumentative and so close, like putting, your hand up the wall and saying, "No, I don't want this." Created to hide one's, not really, and I do believe in integrating. I do believe in really, really leaning into your feelings and allowing yourself to feel your feelings. Um, um, you know, Creating to hide one's true feelings and desires. Um, y- y- you know, um. Keep in mind, you're not denying your true feelings and desires. Well, there is nothing wrong with denying who you are, your true feelings and desires. It's just if you are egoic and defensive and insecure in yourself, then there is some work to be done. Like there is some um, you know, so that hammer has to chip away at that wall and destroy that wall to create something new from the ground up. So where you have where I'm not saying you have to because that's anyway but like if it is defensive and you're pushing things away because you feel like anything against you, any criticism or any negative comment or any idea that you oppose is against you, like and just being so defensive and reactive towards that. Well, you don't have to agree with everyone's idea. Just to be open and don't be reactive and impulsive and destructive and mean, and aggressive in your reaction. So that's really the truth of it. So you get carried. I'm correct this. You get carried away with a false sense of self. Okay? False sense of self. That's what I want you to take away from this. Okay? Protect against rejection. Protecting against rejection or coping with well, this is dealing with narcissism, so it does get more often. Complaint, charming or highly successful facade, but it can lead to feelings of emptiness, isolation, and a lack of spontaneity. Oh, and another thing that I want to add to this, and I just want to say this in a more gentle way, like instead of saying just abruptly and bluntly, don't focus on the we, not me, 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 me. That's not what I'm saying. I want to phrase it this way. You don't have to go at this life alone. You can focus on others. You can focus on what's going on, around you, and you can focus on and there is great value to it, and it is about being open-hearted towards that. and open-minded towards that. Like that is still saying the truth and how I would say it. Like I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to say that I'm not going to do that. But yeah, at least it's not just putting down everything oriented with the self. We're not putting down and we're not, discarding and we're not ignoring or we're not suppressing the self. We are allowing the self and being quote unquote self-absorbed and focusing on me to be like it's okay. It's okay. Focusing on me is a false sense of self, is an egoic sense of self. So, so it can lead to, when Aries is so focused on itself, it can isolate itself. And like it may feel good in your ego, but if you really, really drop into your soul, you feel like, gosh, I think on a soul level, we all need connection. I think everybody needs good, healthy relationship and good, healthy connection in their lives. Okay. And when you're connected to your soul, I think that you will lean into that, and I think that you will, develop that and spend your time and energy and put, your focus on that at some points of your life. Like you will, engage with that and enjoy that and experience that and enjoy that in your life. So, and and um and yeah. So that's all that I want to discuss with this really very, very clearly. So, the point is for Aries to be secure in themselves, to be able to focus on the collective and the we before the me. Well, like you can't just say like focus on we before me, like surrender the ego, surrender the self-righteousness that has to be, my beliefs are superior, I am superior, all this, to then be able to focus on the we. Okay? So that's what I would just wanted to clarify this and just give what I have to say on this. And I'm not going to take this down. I'm not going to apologize this. I'm not going to edit this. It is the way it is. And I am, hopefully that is not being me and self-absorbed. That is just me being authentic. It's not self-absorbed. It's being your authentic self. And I'm here to be my authentic self, and I'm here to live a life where I am being authentic to myself. So I will go through this month, maybe pull my oracle cards, follow my intuition, and I will go through the month of May being true to myself, just like I do any other month of the year. I will be true to myself, not egoic. I will not give into a false sense of self. I will be focused on my own goals, my own visions, and trust that when I do this, I will also then be open to others. That's what I will keep in mind and, consider for the month of May. Anyway, that's all I have to say in this video. Hope you found this interesting and meaningful. I hope to see you in the next episode of the Real Me podcast. And, well, bye for now, everybody. Just gonna stop the share so that I can be secure about stopping this video.